Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. Windsor's first Black police inspector has filed a human rights complaint in regards to alleged derogatory comments made towards the Black community. Plus, Safe Point, Windsor's drug consumption site, won't be reopening its doors. The Windsor-Essex County Health Unit weighs in, and CBC Windsor sits down with a family from Gaza who has recently immigrated to the area. Windsor's police chief is being accused of making racially derogatory comments towards the Black community. The complaint is coming from the service's highest-ranking Black officer, and people in the Black community say these allegations dismantle trust with police. The CBC's Jason Vio joins me now with this exclusive story. Jason, what are the allegations being made here?
Well, Meg, there's a lot in this complaint, and most of the allegations are pointed at Windsor Police Chief Jason Belair, and they're being made by Windsor Police Officer Ed Armstrong. He became Windsor's first Black staff sergeant in 2020 and the first Black inspector in 2021. Armstrong filed his complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario on March 15th. Now, here are the comments Armstrong said Police Chief Jason Belair made to him. He says Belair made comments to him about Black people and bananas, told him that he preferred, quote, whiter things, and suggested there is telepathic communication among Black individuals. Armstrong also alleges Belair asked him to use his black magic on Natalie Deckard to ease her criticism of Windsor Police. She's head of the Interdisciplinary and Critical Studies Department at the University of Windsor and sometimes has officers come speak with her students. Armstrong also says Belair referred to Deckard as a Black radical in a conversation with him. And in a separate instance, Armstrong said Belair made mention of needing a Black friend to accompany him to certain events. Now, Meg, all of these allegations took place between March 2023 and February of this year.
So, Jason, we have to point out the source of these complaints are coming from an individual who was recently himself disciplined.
That's right. And here's a bit of a timeline on how all of that unfolded. Armstrong filed his HRTO complaint on March 15th, as I mentioned. That's roughly 1 month after Armstrong pleaded guilty under the Police Services Act for making inappropriate comments to female employees dating back to 2005. Armstrong was demoted for 1 year to staff sergeant and will automatically regain his rank of inspector after that time. Some of this is mentioned in his HRTO complaint, and prior to this, Armstrong said he hasn't received any complaints against him in his 25-year career, according to his HRTO complaint. CBC News reached out to Armstrong and did not receive a response.
And Jason, how is Windsor Police and the board responding to these allegations?
Well, the Windsor Police Service is declining to comment because this is currently before the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, and Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkins, who's also chair of the board, says the Windsor Police Services Board is aware of this complaint and is taking action to investigate and respond to the matter before the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario in accordance with all statutory timelines. Now, I also reached out to board member John Elliott. He declined to comment as well. Elliott became the board's only non-white member when he was appointed by the province in June of 2023.
And how is the community reacting to these allegations?
Well, Meg, some say it's very hurtful. Others say it affects the trust between police and the Black community. Others are also questioning the culture that exists under a policing leader who is accused of making these comments. Here's more of what they had to say.
You're going to joke about one of your fellow police officers, liking bananas or, whatever it was, then how are you looking at the Black community as a whole?
These allegations completely dismantle and destroy the trust that Black and other communities will have in policing. The chief sets the climate.
I find allegations like this deeply troubling. I certainly, though, don't find them to be surprising in some sense. These are the individuals that we're looking for to steer the police service in the right direction, to serve as examples and role models for other officers, to set the tenor of what should be happening within the police service. And when it comes to the culture of policing or the subculture of policing, leaders in police play a strong role in determining and shaping that culture and what's expected of their officers.
It's also important to note Windsor Police did somewhat respond to Armstrong's complaint to the HRTO. They didn't directly address the allegations, but they, quote, staunchly deny any liability. And they tried to get the HRTO complaint dismissed so they could deal with it internally. Armstrong is seeking $2 million in damages and an external equity audit review.
Well, thanks so much for that, Jason. You can read more on this at our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. 6 weeks ago, the Ismail family arrived in Tecumseh from Gaza. As they adjust to life here, their thoughts are also on the life they left behind. Ahmed Ismail sat down with the CBC's Amy Dodge to talk about how they are settling in and the feeling he has of living a double life.
We're feeling peacefully here in Canada, but to be honest, we live just like two lives. At the morning, we're trying to find our job opportunities, and we're fighting to just feed our kids. At the night, we just communicate with our families in Gaza Strip, and just like we can't even sleep well, we can't even do anything well, really. But after all, the environment here, the people, the society is really good.
What is it like at nighttime when you're looking at the events that are unfolding in Gaza, knowing that you're here and you're safe?
I can't just describe the feelings, really, because every night my wife just goes in like crying for so much time. My kids like worrying and just like feeling anxiety. They can't sleep well, and they start communicating with our family there in Gaza Strip. They start to talk with them using the social media connections like WhatsApp, Telegram. And sometimes there is connection there, sometimes they're not. And we are just like lucky these days we can talk with them. We know everything is what is happening. We have this image in our brain and it follows us like a nightmare. And I can tell you, there is a train just comes at night in this place. I can hear it. Whenever it comes, whenever a plane just fly above this house, we're just like, oh my God, this is coming for us again. It's like a nightmare. Talking with my family, my sisters there, one of them just lost her house. It's completely destroyed. The other one partially destroyed, and they just only have one room. Other just like a rubble. They hide a lot of their suffer because they want us just to have a new start. Now, my son, the youngest one, Abdullah, he's just like 5.5 years. He's like scared all the time. Unless you have him in your next to you, he just can't leave you because he's scared. He was not like that before the war.
The local health unit is reporting its first human case of West Nile virus this year. The person is only described as an adult resident. West Nile is transmitted through a mosquito bite. While the health unit says the risk of getting infected in Windsor, Essex is currently low, this case is a reminder for people to take precautions. Last year, the first case of the year was reported in October. With a safe drug consumption site now likely off the table for Windsor, community members are wondering how to move forward in the fight against homelessness and addiction. Jennifer LaGrassa has more on this.
After getting official notice this morning from the province that its SafePoint application was declined, the local health unit says it's disappointed. In a statement today, the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit said the site made an impact, and that's seen in the people it helped reconnect with family, get housing, or a job. In the 8 months SafePoint was open, 249 people had used the site, visiting it more than 1,200 times. Month after month, SafePoint reports show that people often went to the site for other supportive services, like addictions treatment or mental health care, which it made 237 referrals for.
I don't think anybody knows what the right answer is. Now the government stepped up to do something.
Downtown councillor and health unit board member Ronaldo Agostino says he's open to the government's next steps, which include an investment in homelessness and addiction treatment hubs. In order to get one, Windsor would have to apply. It's not yet clear if that will happen.
Anything we can get for support is something we need. It's another step to trying to help people. And even though it's not the step that a lot of people wanted, it's still a step in the right direction and we have to get behind it.
Outreach worker Leslie Laframboise also supports the investment in recovery.
I'm excited for a homeless hub with all amenities in one spot to help the homeless and people with addiction. I was never a big fan of the safe injection site. I thought if you were going to have a safe injection site, it should have been in a hub or a mobile unit.
She says more treatment beds are needed to reduce the long wait people usually face. The health unit declined to interview today. In its media statement, it said it started to look at other opportunities in place of SafePoint. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
If you thought you smelled something burning early this morning, you weren't wrong. A massive mulch fire at a factory storage yard on Detroit's west side blew smoke Windsor way. Detroit's fire chief said the fire broke out yesterday around 6:30 p.m. It's roughly the size of 6 football fields, and it's unclear how the fire started, but about 120 firefighters in rotating shifts battled to prevent it from spreading today. The Windsor-Essex County Health Unit says air pollution, regardless of its source, poses significant risk, and said in a statement the air quality in Windsor was at a level 5, indicating a moderate health risk. Downtown residents say they were on alert early this morning.
Well, it was really weird. My windows were open because it was cool outside, and I'm smelling campfire, and I'm like, what is going on? Because it's downtown Windsor. We never have that smell. It's mostly older people that live in this building, so this is definitely the talk of the town right now.
Well, a very nice day outside, a bit of wind we can see from those waves, but it didn't stop this young Windsorite from enjoying a day on the riverfront with his fishing pole. For more on what the weather holds, I'm joined by Chris Potter. Chris, isn't that a nice way to spend a late August day fishing on the riverfront?
But I was curious whether he actually caught a fish or his line got snagged.
I think, I don't know, there could be some snags definitely on the bottom of the Detroit River.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But it was a breezy day, was a little cooler than average, and I think that was the bigger story today. Obviously, active weather wasn't a big issue at all. For the majority of the day, it was mostly sunny to partly cloudy, but the temperatures themselves obviously a little bit lower, especially early this morning. Temperatures actually started off close to 11 degrees, well below the normal overnight low for this time of year of 16.2. And during the afternoon, even with that sunshine, with that breezy northerly wind, we were left with highs at around 22.4. We should be closer to, once again, 26 for this time of year. And the cool factor resides across the entire region, especially over eastern Ontario. They're still dealing with a lot of cloud and more organized rainfall, thus the cooler conditions out east. But into southwestern Ontario, it's actually been a fair weather day, but once again, breezy and a little cooler, fresher, almost like early fall. Maybe you were thinking about a pumpkin spice latte because it felt like early fall. I'm just throwing that out there. Temperatures currently anywhere from 18 in Goderich, 20 Chatham-Kent, and 21 in Windsor. Not feeling that much higher when you factor in the humidity. Once again, northerly winds means cooler and drier air. But over the next couple of days, we will start to see those temperatures climb and humidity levels rise again. So if you're a fan of the typical summer heat, it's just around the corner. And what's not around the corner, at least for now, is active weather. We have a large, slow-moving area of high pressure. There's the system I was referring to earlier, continuing to spin, and you can see that counterclockwise rotation. So as long as high pressures to the west and low pressures to the east, we get those cooler northerly winds. But they will become much lighter tonight and into the day tomorrow. So in terms of how things set up, and in terms of cloud and precipitation, well, not much to point out. Once again, thank you, high pressure. You're going to provide us with a nice run of sun, a beautiful stretch of weather to get out and enjoy. More seasonable highs are expected for tomorrow. And tomorrow night, it won't be as cool as tonight because once again, it's going to be a cool and fresher start to the day tomorrow early in the morning around sunrise. I do believe at 8:30 a.m. Or 6:30 a.m. I was off by 2 hours, but it doesn't look like there's going to be much of active weather potential until the weekend, and even that is very slim at this point. Most areas will escape with just a little extra cloud. But look at some of these overnight lows. Yeah. Mid-single digits to high single digits across the board, anywhere really from 6 to 10, maybe 11 degrees. By the afternoon, though, with lots of sunshine, just a few clouds, daytime highs popping back into the mid-20s, and the humidity levels might make it feel as high as 26, maybe 27. Then we gradually climb, 26 degrees for you on Friday. Most of the cloud moving in, high-level clouds. So it's still going to be a bright, beautiful day to get out and enjoy. Saturday, at times mostly cloudy, primarily in the morning, maybe a couple of drops of rain, primarily up towards Sarnia, Goderich, Kincardine, off the Lake Huron shoreline. As we get through Saturday into Sunday, temperatures are expected, Meg, to climb up towards 30, probably going to feel like the mid-30s, and we wrap it up with the end of the 5-day forecast. Monday, mix of sun and cloud, highs again near 30. So summer-like weather, not quite done yet.
Chris, I got to know, are you a pumpkin spice latte kind of guy?
I've been known to dabble.
Yeah, I think we all have, right?
Yeah, but the season has to be right. You can't just grab one of those in the middle of summer.
You are so right. You got to have your sweater on. Thanks so much for that, Chris.
Sweater weather.
Well, there's a look at smoke coming from the mulch fire still burning at a Detroit factory on the city's west side. It's been 24 hours since the fire department was alerted. We have more news coming up after the break.
is all that I can give to you. Love was made for me and you.
Scotty's.
Huh. You finally got the name right. Scotty's.
I saw a hypnotist. He gave me a sneeze trigger.
How's that going?
And whose idea was it to commit these heinous crimes?
It was Scotty's.
For all the money, which two brothers invented the airplane?
Scotty's.
Stay quiet.
Scotty's. Oops. Scotty's.
In 5 years, we'll be doing this, but in Japan.
I'll be on my third reno.
I will take over the lemonade game.
Don't have a sandwich? Get a sandwich. Get a sandwich. Get a sandwich. Everyone have a sandwich.
Yes way!
Celebrate National Sandwich Month with $2 off any foot-long sub.
Sometimes a cold gets in the way of a good night's sleep. That's why there's Vicks VapoRub Advanced. The soothing vapors relieve his cough and nasal congestion to help him sleep. Vicks VapoRub Advanced. Good night colds.
An EnerCare expert can find ways to make any home run smoothly. From heating and cooling, to home comfort solutions like water heating and water purification. Our technicians can help with affordable solutions to keep your home comfortable and problem-free. And with 65 years of helping Ontarians, we'll always be here when you need us.
EnerCare, experts at home.
Paula and Lynn have found adulting particularly hard today. But you can adult like a pro with Sonnet Home and Auto Insurance. Just go online and in minutes you're covered. Plus, bundling can save you big time.
Get me some of that.
Let's talk about Haribo Gold Bears. The red one is more gooder to me because it tastes like berries. They're really squishy. Then I'm gonna fly it into my mouth.
The next Lotto 649 Gold Ball jackpot is a massive $46 million. Imagine the possibilities. Plus the classic $5 million jackpot. 2 chances to find your possible.
The Don't Pay a Cent event is back at Leon's. Pay no money down with no monthly payments and 0% interest until 2026. Plus, save 50% on select furniture and mattresses. On now.
With Old El Paso, there's so many possibilities.
New Yoplait Source Protein Yogurt is protein made easy.
Businesses, farmers, and commuters are bracing for a looming work stoppage at Canada's 2 main railways. Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City are set to lock out 9,300 engineers, conductors, and yard workers in total. And as the CBC's Evan Dyer reports, the federal government is showing signs it intends to intervene to keep the trains on track.
As Canada's 2 main railroads rolled towards a midnight showdown with the Teamsters Union, Canada's main business organizations called on the federal government to show leadership and act before our trains, and with them our economy, grind to a halt.
It's mind-blowing that we could get to this situation.
Farmer Steve Vandervalk has one eye on the talks while working to bring in a crop of barley that may have nowhere to go. His bottom line is already taking a hit.
I have one contract that it could cost me $500,000 if they decide not to take my contract because the prices have come way down.
It's going to be catastrophic. About 80% of rail customers are captive to one of those railways, so they do not have an alternative if rail is out. And this is going to have a ripple effect throughout the economy.
There could also be disruptions to some passenger train traffic, including commuter trains in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Via Rail would be mostly unaffected, but the federal government has resisted calls to intervene.
The best deals are reached at the bargaining table, and
I am calling with extreme seriousness on the employers and on the union to roll up their sleeves to get a deal done.
The government has the power to order the railroads to keep operating and to send the labor dispute to binding arbitration. CN Rail has already asked for that.
The minister needs to intervene because the Teamsters are not negotiating seriously or engaging with us in a meaningful way to advance this.
But the government's NDP partner has said it will oppose a forced settlement.
This is really about the CN Rail and CP Rail, big profitable corporations trying to exploit workers.
Well, are you kidding me? Do you know how many working people are going to be affected by this stoppage? Like millions.
We're dealing with an employer-driven work stoppage, with both companies having served a lockout notice. If the companies want a deal, there's certainly a deal to be made.
Labour Minister Steve McKinnon hinted today that the government's patience is running out.
Obviously not a pace or a pace of progress that is acceptable to Canadians in such a sensitive industry.
But McKinnon didn't say if the government will let the deadline pass or act before the clock strikes 12. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
U.S. voters are about to get to know Minnesota Governor Tim Walz a bit better. He's delivering the headline speech tonight at the Democratic National Convention. Walz was not known well on the national stage until he was picked up by Kamala Harris to be her running mate. The CBC's Katie Simpson spent time today chatting with Democrats about what they hope to hear from Walz.
We are inside a space called Dem-Palooza. During the day, while there are caucus meetings and strategy sessions, Democrats come here to this place. They can get merchandise, they spend time with like-minded people, they sort of come and browse a bunch of kiosks, and you can even get your photo taken with a cardboard cutout of Kamala Harris, as we're seeing right here. There is a lot of energy and excitement about Democrats in this moment, but tonight is all about the vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz. People we spoke with are looking to hear a message of unity, and they're keen to learn more about him.
Tim Walz understands regular families and how they're dealing with things, and I'm just looking forward to a team at the top with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz that really cares about every single person in this country and not just a few.
I want to hear what he wants us to say to people in rural areas and what are going to be the things that he and Kamala plan to do for rural America, because America really is a rural country.
So I think he's just, an average guy and just, like the kind of guy that you'd want to have, be friends with and hang out with and just, normal and can relate to a lot of people. And I think Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are both, from middle class backgrounds and, can relate to what people are struggling with.
Democrats we've been speaking with tell us they're feeling unified, they're feeling energized, especially after listening to last night's speeches by former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Both went on the offensive, attacking Donald Trump and Republicans.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
They always say, sure, please stick to policy, don't get personal. And yet they're getting personal all night long, these people.
Well, the vibes, this convention might be feeling really positive, might be feeling really strong. The reality is this is going to be a very close election, and they urged everyone to get involved and to help get out the vote come November. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Chicago.
The U.S. is pushing for a ceasefire agreement and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas.
On the fierce urgency of now. This needs to get done, and it needs to get done in the days ahead, and we will do everything possible to get it across the finish line.
Negotiations are supposed to resume tomorrow in Cairo, but today an Egyptian mediator said that Hamas won't agree to the current proposal. Hamas claims Israel has been adding demands. Blinken says Israel has accepted the proposal. The urgency to reach an agreement follows Iran's threat to retaliate for the killing of a Hamas leader in Tehran. Stay tuned. We have more news coming up after the break.
two kinds of people. Those who add nuggets to their Wendy's meal and those who wish they did. Get a 6-piece of crispy 100% all-white seasoned chicken nuggets for the fresh price of $3.49. Don't miss out.
Still up at 2 a.m. again? Tonight, try Pure Z's All Night to help increase total sleep time. Unlike some other sleep aids, our extended release melatonin slowly releases up to 6 hours. ZzzQuil Pure Z's All Night. Fall asleep, wake refreshed.
Even if you don't know where you'll end up, you'll always know how to get there in a Jeep Compass. Tech savvy and trail rated. Part of Canada's best-selling 4x4 SUV brand. Get up to $4,700 in MSRP discounts on Jeep Compass, plus eligible customers get $1,000 in loyalty cash on most models.
Finding the latch under the hood? Another adulting dilemma. Time to adult the easy way with Sonnet Auto Insurance. Just go online and in minutes you're covered. Plus there's help around the clock.
I could use that.
The next Lotto Max jackpot is an estimated $40 million. What are your dreams?
I've always wanted to start my own coffee company.
Grown on the side of our own mountain.
With our faith.
Get your Lotto Max tickets today.
The Don't Pay a Cent event is back at Leon's. Pay no money down with no monthly payments and 0% interest until 2026. Plus, save 50% on select furniture and mattresses. On now.
From the very get-go, you go through a lot. It's all, there you go, then go ahead, go for it. So for all the ways you're on the go, and everything you go through, go Pure.
An EnerCare expert can find ways to make any home run smoothly. From heating and cooling, to home comfort solutions like water heating and water purification. Our technicians can help with affordable solutions to keep your home comfortable and problem-free. And with 65 years of helping Ontarians, we'll always be here when you need us.
EnerCare, experts at home. Closed captioning is brought to you by Shark, where innovation is right at home. Learn more at sharkclean.ca.
As Canada's farming industry looks to sustainable ways of raising pigs, chickens, and even fish, researchers in Saskatoon are experimenting with insect-based animal feed. As Alexander Silberman tells us, it could in turn be a game changer to feed the planet.
This room especially is an adult cage room.
These flies may not look appetizing, but they could be key to feeding the animals that help feed the planet. As production of animal feed puts a major strain on land and water, insects are being proposed as an alternative. At a Saskatoon lab, this agriculture tech company is betting big on black soldier fly larvae.
So insect farming will be completely a new direction to make the sustainable protein.
The lab breeds the flies in a controlled environment. The flies lay eggs, which become larvae, and those are ground up to make high-protein animal feed.
Whoa, that's a lot of them.
How do you convince people to start feeding their farm animals this?
The end product will not look like this. End product will be dry and then looks like a powder.
Insect feed is more expensive, but many farmers say they're considering it since it's better for the planet.
It could ultimately mean some tremendous positive benefits that could extend far beyond our little postage stamp of a farm.
This BC farm became one of the first in Canada to feed insects to its chickens, but they've faced challenges, lost their supplier, and are now trying to breed flies themselves.
Being pioneering, it really is like being the first people to drive an electric car. You might have the car, but there's no charging stations.
While it may be challenging, this expert says insect feed is better for the environment, because flies grow in a small space and can eat food waste.
We want to be using land, which is our precious resource, to be growing food for human consumption rather than for the animals that we eat.
Duncan says insect food could be widely used in Canada within the next few years, once technology helps lower the cost. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A couple of paddle boarders picked up an unusual hitchhiker when they were out on the water off Vancouver Island earlier this month. A sea otter decided to climb aboard and take a ride. They kept as much distance as they could from the otter and steered the paddleboard back to shore. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.